Well, good morning. I hope that today is a good day for you. And we're going to explore something really, really heavy and big today. I hope some questions that will help you to think through some very heavy things. This is actually kind of fun because we as Christians are put in a position to be able to ask important questions and to confront the important questions of the world. I find it very interesting how people react to questions, particularly questions about faith. Many people avoid questions like that altogether. They don't even want to talk about faith matters to anybody else because I'm not sure why. Maybe they're afraid to compare their ideas with others. Maybe they don't feel secure in what they're believing. I don't want to be judgmental in that, but it's strange to me that a lot of people are afraid to even talk about the questions they have about their faith. Some just outright refuse to address any questions because they're afraid it'll cause division of some kind. Even some preachers, people that you would expect to be ready with answers, are sometimes outright afraid of going there. They don't want to do questions. And I don't know, is it because they feel like they don't have any good answers? I'm not sure why anybody would hesitate exploring important questions, especially questions of faith coming from someone else. Let me say this. If you have seen a church or any kind of a faith leader that discourages questions, they should be ashamed. Because actually, asking questions is the way that we learn. And you'll hear somebody occasionally say something like, well, I grew up in a situation where we were told you aren't supposed to question these things. Really? Why would anyone say that? Is it maybe because they don't have any good answers? Maybe it's because they know that their answer is not going to be satisfying, or maybe their answer is weak, or maybe their answer is just empty. Indeed, questions are important. As Christians, we should welcome every kind of question that comes our way. We should actually encourage people to ask any kind of question. We should be delighted when someone comes and asks a question about some faith matter that is on their mind. And any question is all right. Any question is acceptable. Because if that's what's on a person's mind, that's what we need to talk about. In the first book of Peter, Peter wrote this. He said, "Sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, yet with gentleness and reverence." When he said that, he was telling the followers of Christ that there are out there people without hope. And those people may see in you as a believer something that is of hope, and they may come asking you about it. And so he's saying, be ready for them. Give them an answer about the hope that is in you. And what are those people asking? Well, actually, there are some really big questions, as I said. I think there are three major questions that a hopeless world is asking right now. The first is, who am I? The second is, what is my purpose? And the third is, what happens if I die? The part of our society that does not believe in God really has no hope in the answers to any of those questions. But if we are people who believe in God, trust in His existence, trust in His Word, then we have answers. And our answers are indeed full of hope and direction. So let's deal with those very quickly. First of all, who are we? Well, from the eyes of God, we are beings created by God and created in His image. We are not just meaningless collections of biochemicals. We are not just the result of an empty evolutionary process. We are people who are cherished by God Himself. We are spiritual beings open to the possibilities of living life in the presence of the Creator of the universe. It's an amazing idea, and it gives us such assurance. Who are we? We are people of God. So, what is my purpose? Is it to be like God? Well, that's exactly it. The bottom line is our purpose is to be as much like God as we can. After all, we were created in His image, and it is the sin in our life that has separated us from Him. So we want to overcome that and get back to being as much like God as it is possible for us to be. To be like God. It means that we are thinking, being creative, expressing those ideals that are God-like. It means that we are based on love and compassion and peace and strength. Wonderful ideals by which we can be guided. What is my purpose? It is to be like God, because these are the good parts that we see that we are to be as created beings in His image. If we take God out of life, then there really is no answer for this. If we take God out of our life, we have no purpose. There is really nothing lasting that matters. And what happens then when I die? This may be, to many people, the most frightening question of all. In the presence of God, we have this promise of eternity with Him in a new heaven and a new earth, where the righteousness of God is the dominant influence of all of our existence. What happens to us when we die? We have that eternity to look forward to spending with Him. No more pain, no more sorrow, no more emptiness, no tears, no suffering. It is only the perfect harmony of God and us spending our eternity with God and all of His people in that perfect harmony. It is a perfect forever. But without God, there's nothingness. The love that we have had for our family really has no lasting meaning. The materialism that many have spent their lives pursuing really goes for nothing. There's no reason to hope in this life because there's really nothing beyond this life from the perspective of a godless individual. So, which ideal is the more logical to pursue? Which worldview makes the most sense? It's very interesting that people of faith are very often portrayed as the ignorant people of our world. But in fact, compare these two worldviews and which makes more sense. Now, there would be those that would say, well, it's just superstition. No, it's not. Because we have massive amounts of evidence to support our belief in the existence of God. And a logical mind examining this evidence will conclude that not only does God exist, but that we have a place in God, that our lives matter, we have purpose, and that our eternity is assured. There are many reasons to believe in God and trust in Him. But the answer to these really big questions comes most logically by our understanding that we are existing in God Himself. So, we have the answers to the big questions. So if we have the answers, we need to be ready to share those answers with others. I urge you today, go and live as a believer. Be living as one who is ready to give an answer for the hope that is in you. What a great privilege we have. Make this a great day.
They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Words of life, words of hope.